A very special review with the all-new Porsche Panamera today with me, with Thomas and Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. Because today, first of all, a full driving review with me here. We had a workshop before and we had a review with Holger. You can also check those one out in the video description. Today we'll have a special focus because first of all, this one here is the new hybrid version, the Panamera 4 Hybrid or the e-hybrid. And this is also the executive version, the one with the long wheelbase. So therefore we'll also have a rear seat entertainment and a rear seat special. So a lot of special focuses on the all-new Panamera here with this review, and you can all enjoy it in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! In the front you can see the two accentuations here in the front hood. That is really remarkable. I'm not sure if I'm a friend of that. As I see the car for the very first time at the world premiere, I wasn't really a friend of it. Now I'm getting used to it a little bit more. Overall, a very streamlined design. Here also equipped with the full LED lights. You see it here 1, 2, 3, 4. That is always the characteristics of those LED lights. And in general, of course, the Porsche design language in the front that you can really distinguish it. And in the front, you cannot really see that this one is the hybrid version. A normal length of a Porsche Panamera in the all-new generation is 4 meters 05 or 16 foot 5, and this one here, the executive version, 15 centimeters longer wheelbase, so 5 meters 20 or 17 foot. You really see that the rear door is that longer, and then you got the wheelbase that is then over 3 meters. Really impressive for sure. The most remarkable feature, however, in general with the new Panamera is the lower roof line, 2 centimeters lower, and that also makes out for this more elegant appearance with the strong Porsche shoulders right there. The hybrid version got this e-hybrid badge here with the acid green background, and also see it right here, the brake calipers contrast in this acid green color. It's a mix of green and yellow somehow. And here we got special 21-inch rims mounted. Those are optional. Usually you get them a little bit smaller. Really an impressive design. And well, do you lose some comfort? Yes, basically when going for the big alloys. But then again, you got the air suspension, which comes from serial equipment with the hybrid version, also to go for a very comfortable ride with this car. And now one more free look for you. Seen from a driver's perspective, the right-hand side goes to fuel. On the left-hand side, you got the plug-in here for the hybrid, and the maximum electric range is supposed to be about 50 kilometers. A beautiful LED layout of the rear lights, the tail lights with a 3D effect, and also this horizontal spin of this light strap. Then you got the acid green background for the Panamera 4, because the 4 says it's also all-wheel drive. The hybrid is always all-wheel drive. I'll tell you more about later on while driving how the system works. However, you still got a V6 engine, therefore still 2 massive exhaust pipes. And well, the outer part is, it's not, is it fake? Well, you can argue, because there's those inside exhaust that goes directly over to the exterior part. Maybe it's a little bit fake, you could say so. of course you got a very strong appearance and still if you're driving a hybrid. .9 liter V6 e-hybrid, so together with the electric drive you come to a system output of 462 horsepower, and then you get below 5 seconds, so 4.6 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 0 to 62 miles an hour, and that's a second faster than the normal V6 you get from the entry Panamera. You see that the hybrid version here does have a lot of performance for sure. Charging, by the way, you should take this so-called onboard charger. I'm not sure why they separated, why they just put it in the serial equipment, but then the car charges a little bit faster, and depending on your energy source, 4 to 6 hours to charge up the fully electric range. The question is of course always, who will charge the car and how often? A lot of hybrid customers do not really charge the car that often. Then it only serves as getting the fleet consumption down for the Porsche brand, only serves as a mere transition. So the car makes sense if you charge it regularly. Then it also makes sense in an economic and ecological way. So far 10% of the Panamera customers go here for the hybrid, for the predecessor version, and they now hope that this share is increased. Now to the trunk, you got an electric hatch right here, and this is of course a rather versatile Porsche. Of course you do not have so much loading space in height, but it goes quite long in there, so you have a lot of luggage room. The hybrid, however, reduced it by 90 liters and more in the height because there's this floor bottom, but usually you don't maybe use the floor bottom anyway, and so you just know that the battery is directly beneath it. The Porsche key has been redesigned. You can see it right here. It's a little bit flatter and also has these buttons here a little bit flatter on the inside. Very interesting. Then the door. See it here, carbon fiber on the inside. We got that style right there. And a lot of animal skin is used. That's the negative part of this car. The design, however, is really interesting. Also, again, with this very hardly strapped dashboard, everything looks so clean and sporty. Nice compact steering wheel, and then the color. I mean, I love the bright seats. That is really great. However, I would go, if you pay so much money for a car, ask for Porsche exclusive series also to get cloth of Alcantara seats. You can go for that with a custom order. If you pay so much money, you should also be able to get that one. And you can see all electric seats. We have a lot of adjustments. Also can, for example, lengthen the front of the seat right here for tall drivers. And this is, for example, the lumbar support in all four ways. Let's get inside, and it is one of the most comfortable Porsches, also if you compare it to the SUVs, because in the SUVs you don't have too much room. Here there's a very spacious feeling, the most spacious one in a Porsche. Although, of course, you sit lower than, way lower than in the Porsche SUVs. But again, the seating position is very comfortable for sure. You can adjust the steering wheel electronically in each of the 4 directions, and also can spend hours to adjust the seats in all of the different directions. But it's good that you have those possibilities right there. A little bit strange is this, when you have the keyless option here, see also the steering wheel moves automatically back and forth again. You have this separate fixed key on the left side. That's a little bit strange. No, maybe just a pure button would have been better. Cockpit overview, and first of all I close the door just very gently, because with the soft close, so the last bit is then drawn back. Of course, always an option. Then horizontal layout of the cockpit, and all clean here, especially cleaned up because of the new big infotainment screen, Sport Chrono package. In the hybrid we also have this acid green arrow right there. The sporty steering wheel as we expect it from a Porsche. Then we have the driving mode selector on the steering wheel. Again, we'll soon tell you more about that. Also, it still looks like it would be a 5-digit setup here, but only the central one is still analog. The other ones are digital. Then the huge horizontal screen right there. I will soon show you more deals about that, but good reaction times, that for sure. And there are no real buttons left, only for the temperature, interesting clicking sounds. All other stuff is more in the capacitive way. So interesting setup here, and with a new small shifting lever here. The hybrid version always comes with an 8-speed PDK, the Porsche dual clutch transmission, also to have the good transitions between the electric drive and the normal combustion engine. Instruments, there you can see it right now, big RPM in the middle, and this is the analog one. Everything else doesn't look like it, but everything else is digital. And for example, the 2 right ones change to the GPS view then. You can also change it right here, for example, tire pressure or the all-wheel drive distribution, energy flow, or other G-force information and so on. And also on the left side, you can see here, right side for the right one, left side for the left one. They could also change some information, for example, driving assistance, and also here for the ACC info. Another close up at this stopwatch here with the acid green arrow. That's a nice hybrid detail. And in the middle console, those were the buttons I was talking about, with this knurled metal on the top. It's not flickering in real life, by the way, it's just our camera has a better shutter or frame rate. And here the vents. Everything else are those capacitive buttons. They click a little bit, but they are not really buttons. You have a clicking sound, but not a real haptical feedback. So in the huge screen, it is a little bit complicated for sure. You can make your own home screen that you can set your favorite stuff, that it automatically comes then. And you can do really so much. You can connect your phone either via Bluetooth normally, or you can also go for the CarPlay app. That is also possible. Then you always have a split view that is also in your options, so you can do so much with it. You could also say it's a little bit over-engineered. Here the map, good reaction times, great view on the GPS, here racetrack near Cape Town today. And then you can also have some driving informations, for example, especially for the hybrid mode. You can change the mode right here, but also directly at the steering wheel. Here you can also put the spoiler right up on the outside. You see here this is in one piece, while at the turbo version the spoiler is split. And also the climate information can be controlled right here, and that's one thing. Where the air is coming from you have to do in the menu here. Not sure if that's the best way, but maybe you just find one setup and then keep it that way. Also the hybrid has a special view here that you can see the range, but you could also see it in the small instruments cluster. That is also possible, and if you change the driving mode selector on the steering wheel, it's also reflected here to the middle screen. Also some car information right here. You can also control the rear shade for the rear passengers right here from there. So this is really a control system. Apple CarPlay looks like this when the phone is connected here, for example, and then you can go back to the Porsche system like this. So again, you can do almost everything with this infotainment system. It's just a question, is it maybe too much? What do you think? And here the camera system, you can see you have the drone view from above and then the real rear view camera. You can also switch it around, for example, to check the front, also the sides, that you can protect your rims, for example, or real panoramic to the front or the rear, so change the angles. A lot of possibilities and a good resolution to keep your car safe. Storage space at the inside of the doors, and there you see the glove box. There the space is rather limited. Then there's this huge armrest, but not too much space on the inside. 12-volt power supply, USB ports right there. You can put a smartphone right there, and here, for example, for the key. And the beverage holders, they can be put up like this, that it makes more a streamlined area here. I'm not sure. Then you can put them down for the different beverage sizes, and they're also a little bit adaptive. So that's a quite good solution. The panoramic roof, you can slide it open, and it's split front and rear a little bit. And you can also open it right there. So there we go. And let some more sunshine in here. It's not a really big opening, so you don't have any convertible feeling, but for some fresh air from the top side, that works. Then let's get in the rear, and as we have 15 centimeters more wheelbase, we have also 11 centimeters more knee room. Here you can also soft close for the rear doors. I'm 1.86 m or 6'1", and well, there's more a leaning back position here, basically with the seats. You can also adjust it a little bit, so you can make it a little bit steeper. That's more comfortable to me. And it's really interesting that we have electric control. This is the steepest position. That's also a rather comfortable one. Headroom wise, for me with my size, it exactly works. Can put a hand over my head. 119 meters or 6'2", that would be, I think, the maximum where it can get a little bit uncomfortable. You also have an electric lumbar support here. You can set it at the left side of the seat, and a lot of different other luxury features. The only thing that comes standard with the executive version is really the more knee room. This is the seat as I would be driving, and so you see that's really a lot. Mirrors here, for example, you can check your hair or whatever. And then there's this infotainment system for the seats and the vents here in the rear. That's the first thing. Then you can optionally get the rear seat entertainment system with those tablets, and you can also remove them right here like this. They are Android based. There we go. Soon more details to that. And also what is special here about the executive version are those tables right there, and basically works like in an airplane, like this, here, and like this. And then you can have this table set up here and maybe have a picnic in the rear, or use it for your laptop, for example, to also have a working station right here in the rear. There we go. To set up here, and who wants to join me do some work here now? Well, it's a little bit close for a laptop. I would say it's rather fitting for, maybe a notepad or for drinking and stuff. And there are also two more beverage holders here in the rear, and that's right there. And same way you can push them in, and as we've seen from the outside. A little bit complicated, by the way, if you have both tables flipped out, then to mix them up again. But you see, with a little bit of work and combination, it's still possible. And then there's some more space right here. No champagne holder, but I think maybe if you're in the Porsche Panamera, you don't want to drink too much champagne, as it also can get a little bit fast when the driver is having fun. So there we have a close-up here of this climate unit, again with the knurled metal knobs. You can also change the screen like this, or also just use it with a touchscreen where the vents are coming from. As a driver in the rear, you have surely more time. This is, of course, a function here that there's an electric control of the one upper. It's totally useless. I mean, why not just put it like here and then you can control it? That's some, function where the engineer said, hey, let's play around just a little bit. So what is nice here with the optional rear seat entertainment, that they have the same layout as we have in the front infotainment system. And you can also watch the speed here. For example, also, as a passenger here in the rear, you can then check the RPMs and stuff. And here also, as we have the hybrid and the acid green, you can check the G-forces from the rear. A lot of things to play around with, really interesting. And see, there's the home button. You can also check the GPS from here, just like in the front. I think one of the best solutions for rear seat entertainment I've seen so far, because it's really just the same as in the rest of the car, and that you can really follow it as a driver here. You can also have your own media if you have everything connected, and then you also got a special own small Porsche headphones that you don't distract the driver. And by the way, you could better see the screen when I had this sunshade here lowered. It's working all electrically. Also a good thing to improve the comfort when it's very sunny outside. Let's start our ride with the hybrid. And the interesting thing here is, of course, that you can start silently. And especially important when you're driving in your neighborhood, maybe early in the morning. And there, for example, some Porsche customers who told me that, when they're starting their car, maybe a 911 Turbo S in the morning in the neighborhood, some neighbors will say, hey, what are you doing here? I'm still sleeping. And here it's really different, because in the hybrid, there's nothing. And this can really be an advantage, especially in your neighborhood. So maybe people more like you or less despise you than although you're driving a Porsche. And I mean, it's especially meant for those rural areas. And of course, you have to think about, there will be some regulations coming up where you're, for example, only allowed to drive electric inside a city. And I'm really in this e-power mode at the moment, and that really ensures that I'm only driving on the electric part. And it's really interesting feeling driving an electric Porsche. Haven't done that before. I mean, why not? Interesting thing is also I can mount different stuff here in the screen. And here, for example, when I'm approaching the next intersection, automatically jumps to the GPS screen here. Maybe you've seen it also on camera. Really interesting. Now I got the GPS screen right there, and it's filling two of those typically round screens. Here also, when you're having some start-stop inside the city, then it's always making sense to have the plug-in hybrid drive. So now the screen jumps back again, and for example, I can have the all-wheel drive view in there. So it's a rear wheel bias, as we know from Porsche. Some power is also direct to the front wheels. And an interesting thing is, I really had to do some research, talk to people about that. What about when both engines are running, the electric and the normal combustion one? Well, the electric engine always powers over the same way than the normal combustion engine does, so that doesn't really affect the all-wheel drive. So it's not that the electric engine is just applied to the front or to the rear. It's really all equal, and so the all-wheel drive remains rear wheel bias, and the more you hammer the throttle, the more power is also distributed to the front wheels. So that's how the system is working. And you can also very well see that here in our digital screen right there. So I got the different driving modes, and you can always also check the range. At the moment says 40 kilometers left for the range for the electric one. Now when I'm hitting the brakes, there's also recuperation happening. I see it here in the charge. There are some small light LEDs, and they tell me that car's recuperating, car's charging again. Of course, when you're rolling downhill for a very long time, that makes sense, and then it does happen. But of course, it only makes sense if you really have the chance to recharge the car at work or at home, and you're driving rather short trips. Then the hybrid really makes sense, and you can drive it really fully electrically. It's no problem. Here again, also red traffic light. That makes sense inside the city, because always this starting and stopping of the engines, and that accounts for a lot of pollution inside the city. And there the hybrids or the fully electric cars make even more sense. So far I only have been cruising, but I can also hammer the throttle. And what they have changed now in the new hybrid version is that the instant torque is directly available just at the first tip on the throttle. Before that, you had to really push the throttle firm through the very end, that you have the maximum torque of the electric engine. Here now they've changed it to get a little bit more performance, and again, of course, maybe less range. And well, when you hammer the throttle, the car does not accelerate that immediately just with the electric engine, because it's also pretty heavy. I mean, it would accelerate immediately if you have a fully electric car, but it doesn't here when you have the hybrid. And maybe you've also heard it now, that the normal engine does jump on. So I can also put in hybrid mode view here in the big display. And now I'm still hearing it, that normal engine is on. Let's see if I can change that somehow. Sport response, e-power. Maybe also by turning off the AC or something like that. That might also work, because AC is running at the moment, and you know, the more electric consumers are running, the more maybe the engine also jumps on. You can always watch it here when the RPMs are running. Then you know that the engine is on. And what I find a little bit strange is that from this, or maybe it's this thing here with the red traffic light. Sometimes you can drive at red traffic light, because when you have the red traffic lights in South Africa, obviously sometimes you can still drive when it's about this, you know, at an intersection you can turn. It's maybe something very special. Maybe some South African viewer can explain to us how that really works. I realized it when someone was, you know, behind me and horning, and so I was waiting at a red traffic light and saying, "Hey, you can drive." Strange thing. So now at the moment the combustion engine is also on. You can see it here in the RPMs, and also I realize I have more power available. And what I found quite strange is, normally also with the plug-in hybrid, I expect when I go to this e-power mode that I really have just the electric drive. And that's obviously not happening here. I think it was different, for example, in the Mitsubishi Outlander, as far as I remember. When you have the electric mode then mounted there, that really stays in that mode until the range is completely empty. Obviously, they had a different decision here to keep the performance, for example, that you always have the performance together with the combustion engine. So, and there are always other driving modes. For example, hybrid auto is basically deciding, you know, what's best for the overall consumption. So both engines are applied. And then inside the menu, in the main menu, you can also put it to e-hold. Then the electric range is being held. That does not make sense efficiency-wise. So it's really not efficient, but it's there. For example, if you know, okay, I'm driving in this Chinese city where I may be forced to use the electric drive only, and then I want to hold my electric range and use the combustion engine to maybe even recharge it, and then you can go to e-charge. And then what's happening is that the combustion engine is reloading the battery. Again, not efficient. It's only efficient if you use the plug-in function and you really recharge the car. But that's again, if you know, in my neighborhood I want to drive fully electric, or maybe inside the city, and so I recharge the car in the countryside. So that's the basic sense here of those modes. Let's go back to the normal e-power mode again, and I can also change to the GPS. It's also, as the next intersection is near, is being changed right there. So I can see where I have to turn. I have to go right. I'm hitting the brakes. I see again that the car is being charged. I'm always looking to the right shoulder. You know, I'm used to right-hand traffic, that's why. So let's see, when I just let the car roll, still the combustion engine is on. That's a little bit strange. So, and there are also those sports modes available. You can have those as well. And then the electric engine is used to have even more power. You also maybe heard that car is going a gear lower, so I have more performance from the combustion engine. Fifth gear at the moment, for example, and now the electric engine is giving you a better power boost. So then also this acceleration figure can be achieved to have this 4.6 seconds, 0 to 100 or 0 to 62 miles an hour. And you can always easily remember that as the total system output is 462 horsepower. 462 horsepower, 4.6 seconds in the acceleration. Very easy to remember. And there's also a Sport Plus mode. Then you see the RPMs go up even more. You have even more performance. Also the electronic stability control is drawn back. Maybe rather something for the racetrack, but you know, no one is really going on a racetrack with this car. And then you can also press this button here at the steering wheel, and you get this sport response. That's then a special boost that lasts about 20 seconds. And then you have even more response here from the car, and you hear how it is going up in the RPMs even more. So you can play around with that a lot. However, although the car is that sporty, more sense the Panamera really makes when you just driving it relaxed, because it's a luxury sedan. It really rather makes fun driving it relaxed. However, I mean, it is basically racetrack suitable, although it's that long. You know, we had this one feature initially where we also had the Panamera on the racetrack with a professional race driver. That was really amazing, especially because the suspension held the car really stiff and still being comfortable, and really amazing that this car can really go on the racetrack. However, hardly any Panamera driver will ever privately visit a racetrack. Doesn't make too much sense, but at least you know, okay, it is basically possible. I'm at the moment in the hybrid auto mode, and there you can see when I'm running down, it can happen that the engine is shutting off. That can actually happen. So you see the RPM is at 0, and only the electric drive at the moment is keeping the car rolling. And let's go back to the e-power mode. Oh, I have to go here. Sorry. A little bit tricky here on these South African motorways. And so what I actually wonder, I mean, the difference between the e-power mode is supposed to be that they are really, most of the time the e-power is being used in the hybrid mode. Most of the time hybrid and engines are used at the same time, but what I tend to criticize here, that you don't really feel much of a difference. You rather have the feeling the car is always doing it on its own, what mode the car really wants to be in. So I would really expect that when I go to this E mode, the car stays in this electric mode all the time until the range is really empty. So at the moment I got 38 kilometers left. See, at the moment it goes rather straight, and we can also mount this hybrid view here right there. There I can also see in the big screen which range is left. The consumption, by the way, you know, is calculating both consumptions. Also then 7.3 7.3 liters on 100 kilometers. You can always calculate how it is in mpg. Just type in Google 7.3 liters / 100 kilometers in mpg. Then you can. Oh wow, the camera hopped on now because the cars were approaching here. So E mode now. And you see RPM stays at 0. So we're still in the electric mode. But then again, if I really hammer the throttle, there again, you see, the engine also goes on. And that again, I mean, why not doing this in a hybrid mode? That's okay, you know. When I hammer the throttle, then I also get the help from a combustion engine. But why not keeping it all the way electric in electric mode? That's, you know, what I would have expected from the setup. So, and overall, maybe the difference then from the E to the hybrid mode is, yeah, in the E mode maybe the electric mode goes singular more often than in the hybrid mode itself. But it doesn't seem to be like in the real driving effect, doesn't seem to be the biggest difference. So overall, I mean, it does work having the hybrid system here in the Porsche, no question. And it really makes sense if you can charge at work or at home, then you can really make a run for that one. Why not? Other than that, I mean, a lot of plug-in hybrid drivers, some figures show, don't really charge their cars. So often it's only bought because of some tax benefits, for example. At least you can recuperate then when you're going downhill for a longer time, but then again you're also carrying more weight around with you. So always pros and cons about this hybrid drive. At the end of the day, it depends on, do you really have the possibility to charge it and do you do it effectively. Then also in general about riding the Panamera with this air suspension that is from the standard equipment. With the hybrid you got a really nice comfortable ride. Also when the roads get a little bit bumpy, it's so smooth, it's really like a carpet ride. Very nice to ride, so soft. And that's also, you know, one of the main aspects about this car. However, at the same time the car always remains sporty. Got a direct steering. It's a little lighter than in the 911, for example. In 911 you rather have a sporty steering wheel feeling. Here it's also sporty, but you feel you got a little bit more help. And I think that's also a good decision, because a 911 driver maybe more expects a purer sporty feeling, and here you also want to have a little bit more luxury. At the same time you got a good reaction from the steering wheel, and you know you can hunt this car around the corner at any time. Well, a lot of police here around here again. And quite often the people are running just across the street. Funny stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's just going, even when you're going straight and just going some small slalom here, then it's always fun to drive the car. Do I really feel that the car is that long? Well, you know, we were driving this executive version here with 15 centimeters more in wheelbase. And I mean, when you're going straight, it's maybe even an advantage because you have this stability from the very long wheelbase. However, the car is really designed in a very agile way, suspension-wise, also that it gets a little bit stiffer when you're in the corners, and also with torque vectoring, for example. You can also get that you hardly feel that the car is that long. So I think that's another key aspect about the car, that they've managed to remain a car that is really that long, even in the executive version, that sporty. And if you're on a racetrack, you will surely notice it. But when you're driving just a car normally and you switch directly from an executive version with a long wheelbase to a short wheelbase version, I mean, short wheelbase in relative terms, would you then realize the difference immediately? Hard to tell. I would say maybe rather not, because you see, the car is still very agile, and just every lane change is always a lot of fun. So you see at the moment also a lot of times we were running on the electric power alone. I really like that. And the thing is also, when you're driving the hybrid, you tend to drive it a little bit calmer than you have with the normal combustion engine. And it also relieves you maybe a little bit of stress. And I really like that because it fits the car. So when you're hearing that that V6 all the time, I can also induce that here. So going to, for example, here to the sport mode. You know, only when you hear the growling, you always feel like, you know, you have to push it a little bit more. You get a little bit more nervous, get more of this sporty feeling. And well, I mean, some may like that, sure, and it can be fun, of course. I mean, you can do it at any time, but if you just want to relax and rather enjoy this luxurious feeling of the Panamera, then the hybrid system is really a very pleasing one. However, you know, at the next intersection here, I will just keep it in the sport mode and give you some of the combustion engine performance that you can also hear how it's from the inside. Of course, the car is so well insulated that no matter at which speeds you think you're just rolling, and that of course also insulates it a little bit from the sound from the exhaust. However, you can still hear that refined sound, of course, when you hammer the throttle. Also, when you're hitting the brakes, a little growling from the exhaust. It's really nice, really refined. Or also in the Sport Plus mode, you get even more of that one. Just leaving the throttle from the exhaust. Maybe you can also hear it on camera. It's not too loud though, because the interior is so well insulated. Of course, you also expect it from such a car. And then you can always go back to the electric mode, see the RPMs. There it is, dropped down completely. Now we're driving on the e-power solely again. So it's overall a very positive feeling, and that can also make a good transition, because, you know, when you're traditionally a Porsche customer, you really expect this huge exhaust boost sound. But maybe that won't be the case in the future. I mean, you know, thinking of Tesla, they managed to have a sporty appeal and I want that car factor, although they don't have an exhaust sound. And there are already some Porsche Mission E mules on the run, so some test cars that are, you know, on the way, also being photographed by spy photographers. And you know, this will be an all-electric vehicle then, and probably some Tesla Hunter. Comes a little bit late, definitely, but I think it could really succeed, and this car also shows it, because you do also have performance with an electric drive, that's for sure. And you, especially in those transition periods, you know, when you're not really hunting it somewhere on the countryside road, and that's most of the time of your driving, that you are in city traffic and maybe some transitions, maybe some motorways with constant speed, and then you are more relaxed when you don't have the engine sound, even in the Porsche. And I mean, you can still enjoy all of the other features here, the Alcantara seating, for example, the direct steering wheel, still the sporty feeling, and all of the other luxury features. That's still possible. It's just that the exhaust sound is missing. And even though I'm a car enthusiast, I can really say it really works. You can let go of it if you have a car that is really superb in every other direction, and it really does work. So range-wise, also the maximum range that is left, that works pretty correctly. Of course, it will be a little bit less in winter times, but you see, we started at about, I think, was something about 40. Now we're about 33, and that really works. So you can say that as the display that's being shown there also gives us an accurate information of the range that is really left. About the left, by the way, left and right. Here again, some lane changing. You see how the car's reacting. And It's not really tilting at all, so the suspension is set in a way that it's really combining the comfort and the sporty features. And here we have the air suspension, as I said earlier. They have also found a good way to mix it. And recently we had the Mercedes GLC in the 43 AMG version, where we also had an air suspension, but there I felt it was set up a little bit too stiff for sure. Now red traffic light, let's try to hammer the throttle. Also all co-drivers get ready for that in the electric mode. Let's go. And that's 80, wow. And you see, even I was in the e-power mode, the combustion engine was fired on. Where is everyone? Everyone is gone. And that was very interesting, because you see that the transition from the combustion engine going on, there was hardly any transition. It was really totally immediately. And that's maybe also the reason why they created the e-power mode, that there's still possible to get the combustion engine on, that you can have this power at any time, basically. Yet again, I think they could also have done this in the hybrid mode. I think the driver should have the choice to remain in the fully electric mode at any times, if he or she really wants to do that. We can also test it again in the sport mode, how that one plays out from the acceleration. But basically you see that it doesn't make too much of a difference, because you got that power at any time. So really impressive again from performance. And there again, another prejudice maybe is it's maybe wiped away, that the electric car does not have any performance, or that you have to let go of something. I told you earlier, in comparison to the normal V6 you can go for, this vehicle here has 1 second better acceleration, so 1 second faster in the 0 to 100 or 0 to 62 acceleration. That shows again how much performance you can get right here. At the moment, just about 70 kilometers an hour, and I don't have to raise my voice at all. It feels like almost we are standing still, sound insulation wise. It shows again how well the car is insulated. And you can also enjoy a long-term riding fun here. And as I've been driving the 911 yesterday, there again I can really understand why people go for Porsche SUVs, or also maybe for Panamera, in comparison to the to the actual core products of the brand. Because with the 911 I don't really feel like going on a longer road trip, and with the Panamera here it would be no problem, even though you got still a quite low and sporty seating position. The seats are way softer and more comfortable, so that would be an advantage. And of course I probably would go for maybe for a GTS Panamera then, to have Alcantara seats, or maybe here actually pick the hybrid and then go for over the Porsche exclusive brand, and say, I'm paying 100 or 150k for such a vehicle. I take the special ordering process at Porsche exclusive and give me those Alcantara seats. I'm a customer paying 150k, so get me whatever I need. And that's basically how the Porsche exclusive works, and you should also use that then, of course. If you're a customer paying so much money, you should definitely use that. So been a very interesting ride here with the hybrid. I hope you also enjoyed that here together with me. So I can really say the hybrid does work. It fits exactly this vehicle also very much. Maybe not exactly one of the smaller sports vehicles, but especially also this one here, because it's set on this luxurious ride. Always funny to go for a right turn, because that's what's really different than in the left-hand side traffic. And again, especially traffic situations, waiting in intersections, there again, no fuel comes out of the exhaust. Again, there's this situation where the traffic light remains red, but you are still allowed to drive. That's when you turn. Funny thing about South Africa. So, hope you enjoyed it, and Now when we are soon arriving our next destination, the question is again, am I able to charge the car right there? So now to the conclusion of the all-new Porsche Panamera, and especially here with the hybrid and the executive version. First of all, it's surely an impressive car. The exterior is now that beautiful that it looks like a bigger 911. It doesn't look as clumsy as before, a little bit, especially in the rear. Also the interior, great refinement and also very interesting design, high build quality. With the big infotainment screen, you could argue it's a little bit, too much, maybe a little bit over-engineered, but I must say, when you have the car for a little bit longer time, or now as I've taken a look here now, third time now at the car, you get used to it a little bit more, and then you can maybe also more appreciate some of the features and get your settings you usually have in place. The hybrid system, it does work, it does fit the car exactly. Of course, you have to think about the very low range is also, a little bit trick, because it gets down the free consumption for Porsche and doesn't help the customer that much. Who will always charge the car? That is the big question, and a lot of people do not do that. Well, if you do, you can surely use it, the electric drive for commuting to work, or in general to get the consumption down. It is surely a good transition. Then leading over to the Porsche Mission E concept, which will be, I think, a fully electric Panamera to also fight against the Tesla Model S. The executive version, well, if you want to use it as a chauffeur car, then you have more wheelbase, more space in the rear, and you can optionally also go for this rear seat entertainment. And of course, when you pay so much money for a car, also ask for different seat surfaces that you can get them customly equipped with the Porsche. That's it for today. I want to hear your feedback on this car in general, about the Panamera, about the hybrid and the executive version. A lot of things to discuss about, and we can all do that on Autogefühl. See you next time.